Hi, everybody. I'm Angelique Roche, and I'm really excited because I'm here with some amazing women from Marvel, including my amazing Women of Marvel co-host, Ellie Pyle. Hello, Ellie.
Hello, how are you today?
I'm great. Can you help me introduce this incredible virtual room of just brilliant women?
I certainly can. Where do you want to start?
Oh, I mean, I wish I knew who was to your left, but let's go to your left.
Well, to my left, or actually, we're going to go to my right because to my left is a countdown clock. To my right, we have Karla Pacheco. Did I just pronounce that right?
Close enough.
All right.
Pacheco, potato. I've definitely been called potato because people couldn't pronounce Pacheco, so it's all good.
Well, let's kick it back to Angelique then and see if she does better than I do on pronunciations.
No worries, no worries. We also have the amazing Leah Williams, whose amazing outfit and hair is everything to me right now. Sarah Brunstad, hi.
Hey.
And Lauren Bisom, hi.
Hello.
So we got a lot of questions. Y'all got a lot of announcements. We got a lot of things that are going to happen. I got to ask the most important question, though. How is everyone doing?
I mean, the world's on fire, but other than that, pretty rad.
It's not as humid in New York. I'll take it. It's that.
All the windows closed here in Los Angeles.
Very close behind me in Los. So I want to start off. Sarah, you are an editor. You've done some really dope, cool stuff. We're working on some really dope, cool stuff that neither one of us can talk about. But what you can talk about is Captain Marvel. So there's some things that are happening, I hear, with Carol Danvers. Can you give us some things that are going on, in particular, issue 22?
Yeah. So we just wrapped up our big Empire arc, which was really exciting. We introduced some new characters. We got to do some really character-based stuff inside of a big event, which is not always something that you're fortunate enough to do. So we had a lot of fun with that arc. But 22 is bringing back our mainstay artist, Lee Garbett, and we're very excited about that. We actually just wrapped up 22 and sent it to the printer, and it looks beautiful. So this is, I think, a classic Kelly Thompson story. It's like any fan of her is going to just eat this up. It's got a bunch of fan favorite characters, some of who we've seen before, but a bunch of new ones as well. And it puts Carol in a totally new situation. I don't want to get too specific, but she has to deal with some really heartbreaking choices that come out of this arc. So yeah, I'm excited to kick it off.
I mean, she's been having a time, right? Because she's now learned that she has a half-sister?
That's right. So that was the big revelation of Empire. We introduced L'Oreal, who is Carol's half-sister on her mother's side. And L'Oreal has now become the new accuser for the entire galaxy. So she is now kind of Hulkling's right-hand person and carries the hammer of the accuser. She is such a great character. There's a sequence in 19, I think, where she tries on Carol's clothes and she's too big for them and they all bust off of her.
I loved that so much. That was so cool.
It's so good. It's so good. We had a ton of fun with that character and played around with setting her up as a villain first, and kind of subverted some expectations there. So yeah, it's been a blast.
Awesome. Are we going to see more of this half-sister coming out?
Yeah. So since she is now the accuser for the entire Kree Skrull Empire, you're definitely going to see her in Space Age stories. So again, I don't want to get too specific, but Al Ewing, I know, is going to pop her up in a couple of places. Anywhere that you see kind of Hulkling in those space adventures, you're probably going to see L'Oreal. She's very much the center of the galaxy now.
That's awesome. Speaking of Kelly Thompson, I want to talk about Black Widow. I want to talk about Natasha, and I want to talk about baby Stevie, who we just got to meet in the issue that came out this week. So tell me about that. Tell me everything you can tell me at this point.
Yeah, we've been sitting on this reveal for so long now. It like got to a point of being physically painful not to like tell people about it and post pictures. Yeah, so issue number 1, you find out that Natasha is wrapped up into some kind of like villain otherworldly universe where Arcade has trapped her and kind of brainwashed her into forgetting that she's ever been a spy. So this is Gina Davis, like great stuff here. And yeah, issue number 2, you find out. So in issue number 1, you learn that she has a fiance, and then in number 2, we get introduced to baby Stevie, who again, Kelly Thompson fans will notice that he's wearing a Jeff the Land Shark onesie in his first appearance. That was all Elena Casagrande, the artist on this book, who is just, I mean, I picked Elena to do the book because she's talented, but like the pages that she's turning in are unparalleled. She's never done anything like this before. They look so good. So yeah, we're really excited to see what Natasha does with this like family dynamic, and then also the unraveling of it as we see her spy life come back into play.
I love this. I love this so much. So I want to hop over to Lauren, who I hear you have some things actually for us, which is always exciting. Although we're in this virtual room, we're socially distanced on different coasts. Sadly, we virtually have a couple things to show folks. In particular, a little project you're working on with a character named Miles Morales.
Indeed. Miles Morales Shockwave is an original graphic novel that Marvel is partnering up with Scholastic to do. So it's slightly outside of continuity, but plays with all of your favorite well-known characters while simultaneously introducing them to a whole new reader that might not be as familiar with the Marvel Universe. So in Miles Morales Shockwave, we are introduced to Miles as just a normal kid learning to juggle both school at Brooklyn Visions Academy while also swinging through the streets as Spider-Man. After a disastrous earthquake strikes his mother's birthplace of Puerto Rico, Miles, of course, being who he is, springs into action to help set up a fundraiser for the devastated island. But when a new student's father goes missing, he starts to put pieces together that maybe one of the big funders of this block party might not be up to any good. So Miles juggling a lot, and today we are revealing the first pages of the interior. The art, the book is written by Justin A. Reynolds, and then the beautiful art, which you are, I assume, seeing on your screen right now, is by Eisner Award nominee Pablo Leon, who is just knocking it out of the park. It's super fun, bright, vibrant. Pablo draws so much amazing action, and Justin, every word that comes out of Miles's mouth and Gonki's mouth, if I'm being honest, makes me laugh as I read the script. So it's a lot of fun story and a really exciting way for us to introduce this character in a whole new way.
Love it.
That's really exciting. And we also have, in addition to introducing some new things, we have an anniversary to celebrate. So Karla, talk to me about 100 issues of Spider-Woman.
Yeah, it seems like just a couple of months ago, I was writing Spider-Woman #1, and now I'm writing, we've got Spider-Woman #100 coming out. So I think that does officially make me the most prolific writer that Marvel's ever had. But in all seriousness, so issue number 5 of the all-new Spider-Woman is also the legacy #100 of all 43 years of Jessica Drew as Spider-Woman. And we did some really cool stuff with this. So issue 100 also wraps up our first arc of the all-new Spider-Woman series. And we've obviously also introduced an all-new sibling. This one is actually a full brother, Michael Marchand. So Jessica Drew has just recently discovered a brother that she didn't know existed. Her mother is back in the picture. There's an all-new villain, Octavia Vermis, and she also has a niece that has very similar similar health issues to what Jessica Drew had as a child. And so Jessica Drew right now is trying to find a cure for herself, a cure for her niece, and possibly one for her son, Jerry, in the future. She doesn't know. And so issue 5 brings all of that to a head and also pays tribute to 43 years of Jessica Drew. So we wrap up this first arc, these first 5 stories. We have some just amazing artwork that pays tribute to all of Jessica Drew's history, and then also just launches us directly into some really crazy stuff that's about to happen with the King in Black.
Ooh. So tell me, out of all of that history, do you have a favorite moment from Spider-Woman's history that you did not yourself write?
Oh, you had to add the disclaimer there.
I did.
Ah, boo.
I tell you what, I'll take both. I'll take one of yours and one of someone else's.
I guess I really, as many people have pointed out, I've been dipping pretty heavily into the Brian Bendis origins for Spider-Woman, and I think just there were several scenes in that, but honestly, and it's one that I used in Spider-Woman number 2, sorry, which is just Jess riding off on a jet ski as she leaves Otto Vermis's boat exploding behind her, and it's funny because that's at a point where she's really vulnerable. Like, she's in between being she's not quite Hydra, not yet Shield. She doesn't really know who she is right now, but she's kind of working things out, and just her riding off on a jet ski. There's nothing more epic than that. Always jet skis, always, unless it's helicopter explosions. So that brings it back to my favorite, the point where in issue 1 she just swims under a boat, grabs an anchor chain, and whips it at a helicopter and pulls the helicopter out of the sky. Because I just thought that was a pretty good way to get us going.
Yeah, that's a good way to start. Did you talk to your artist ahead of time about whether helicopters were okay to draw?
Oh, it's Perry is actually fantastic. Like, Perry's fantastic for so many reasons. Mostly that all of the most ridiculous ideas that I come up with, he's just like, no, that sounds awesome. It's like, I love you. It's like, yeah, all right, time to draw like horses riding bicycles through a forest of cars. Let's go, buddy. But in issue 3, we've got him. I was just like, yeah, so I need Jess just punching an army of dinosaurs and dinosaur hybrid people on Wondergore. He's like, fantastic. And it speaks for itself because it is just incredible. Yeah, Perry just lets me get away with so much.
You had me at dinosaurs. I don't. Everything else.
Oh, it's actually just punching dinosaurs is actually going to be an ongoing theme through all of this ongoing series. Just FYI, it comes up a lot. Just not a fan of dinosaurs.
Got to keep them in their place.
They know what they did.
I was gonna make a meteor joke. It's too soon. Leah. Hi there. I'm completely entranced by your dress and your hair and your cup and the coordination that is happening. Is the one benefit of being virtual.
So I tend to stage stuff based on what's in view of the webcam, and the floor right now is just a mess of like cosmetics and discarded outfits and, you know, everything that was deemed unfit in preparation for this.
Right. No, that sounds about right. For my entire life, these are the secrets that no one needs to know on the other side of the screen. So, Leah, you write a little thing, or written a little thing, and going to write again a big thing called X Factor. And you know, I hear there are things that are bubbling up with this team coming down the pipe. What can you tell us about what you're working on right now?
Well, the first 3 issues of X Factor are finally out in stores. It was set to debut in April, and then obviously happened, the world, that kind of thing. So the first issue actually ended up coming out at the end of July, and now X Factor issues 1 through 3 are on shelves. And the next issue is going to be the tie-in for Ten of Swords, which is this huge X-Men crossover event that the X Office has been working on for quite a while now, and we're super, super excited about. It's ridiculous, completely over the top, and the way that I describe it to people is like, okay, you know how Taco Bell, speaking of Taco Bell, my chair is going to make a farty noise. It's like a creaky old armchair. So if you hear it, I swear it's the chair and not me. But anyway, you know how Taco Bell has like food scientists and taste engineers and that kind of thing? People who are specifically devoted to making their junk food like as weird and addictive as possible. That is how I feel about Ten of Swords as an X-Men crossover event. Like, it is delicious and wildly addictive. It shouldn't be as addictive and fun as it is, but it is something that everybody, really collaborated on and just worked our butts off getting it that way. So I'm on pins and needles waiting for this event to kick off in the next few weeks.
Well, and when folks will see this, they will be able to pick up the first 5 issues. Actually, I just had a great conversation with the crew. Vita and Teeny and Jerry together talking about Ten of Swords is was delightful. I have no other word about their love for exactly what you were saying, is this idea of how do we make this as weird and as complicated, and then throw in Benjamin Percy and then make it even more weird and complicated, and Wolverine and Cable, etc. So it's really amazing. Are you a sword bearer? Is that what you're saying over here, Karla?
I was just saying, you can never go wrong with swords.
It's true. And I think that was kind of the basis of, like, when we were kicking around ideas for this initially, we were like, okay, well, what's cool? Swords. What's cooler than that? More swords.
10 swords. 10.
Just like a whole bunch of swords, a whole mess of them. So that's pretty much the origin story of how we came up with this idea. We were thinking about what we personally get excited about, and what would be just fantastic on the page, and from there kind of hashed out the hows and the whys and the reasons.
So speaking of hows and whys and reasons, your team lineup in this book is a great mix of fan favorites. Again, it's a mashup, right? We're gonna put it all together and see how it works. Can you kind of give folks an idea what that looks like, and also, like, what are you doing here? Is there a point of putting together these powerful personalities?
So by the time that I came into Dawn of X, Vita Ayala and I, we're like wave 2. We're the second wave of X writers joining this team that already had their books in the works and their teams picked out. So I wasn't picking from, just like a blank roster where I can choose anybody that I want, because they were already appearing in other books. So I was very tactical about this, because it's so important to get this right on the first try. So my approach was to first, I think, ask about characters I'm already obsessed with and like have written before, so I have empty nest syndrome about them. Are these guys still available? And out of that group, only North Star was up for grabs. So I was like, okay, done deal. He's mine. He's going to be a great team leader because he's this gay anti-fascist, anarchist, like agitator. He asks a lot of questions. He doesn't trust bureaucracy or the government. He's also just gotten out of Age of X-Man, where, you know, he was basically brainwashed to not have any feelings of love or romance or sexuality anymore. And so for queer characters, it means like that shoves you back in the closet. And it was very difficult to write that as a queer woman. But I think that it was worth it because it radicalized North Star and was also honest about the complications of this utopia. So I think it kind of primed him to be in a leadership position, and I snapped him up right away. And from there, it was like, well, who actually is available? And out of these characters, who has the best application of forensic investigation with their powers? So boy, Gibbon. Like, of course, he's essential. And from there, it was like, okay, well, there's Prodigy, obviously, and Dakin, I think, would also be a good investigator because he has those pheromone powers. He has super strong senses, so he's a really good like tracker and interrogator as well. And then out of the telepaths, I think Rachel Gray was who I wanted to have on my team. You got to have a telepath, obviously. And then the last person who joined the team was somebody that I was really nervous about using, actually, and shied away from, even though she is the only X Factor alumna who was available, and that's Polaris. She made me nervous because she's a legacy character and she has such a complicated history and is in a position right now to explore her relationship with her father and her true identity. And so at first I was just like, I don't know if I can handle that. That's really daunting. But then I talked to a couple of my friends who are huge, huge Lorna Dane fans. And we also have the kind of relationship where I can just come up to them out of the blue and be like, hey, why do you like her? And they'll answer without asking me why I'm asking. So it was through them that I was able to see how much untapped potential she still has, and that I shouldn't be scared of writing her just because she does come with a really complicated and kind of heavy legacy. And now I feel like even though I do have this oddball team, they're all essential. I could not imagine this book without a single one of them.
Love it. I love it. Oh, I wish we had so much more time to talk about all of these projects. Ellie, I feel like I have to ask you, like, what are you most excited about, like, right now that you can't tell us about in your work because you have all the secrets?
I do have a variety of secrets. However, I think I can talk about the fact that if anyone liked the Miss Marvel story that we did the audio recording of a couple of months ago and released, then, you know, it's possible that there's something else like that coming along. Not with Kamala, but with another great female character who might be getting a return visit from a writer who is associated with her. So that's something we can all look forward to, hopefully in the not distant future.
That was just vague enough for me to get excited. Thank you.
It may actually even be out by the time people are watching this. We shall see. We shall see.
So I know we could talk forever and ever and ever about amazing things, but you know, what are you most excited about on all of your projects, and kind of open to the entire panel for folks to read and see and get to enjoy when they get to those pages? We'll start off with Karla.
Okay. So I'm really excited about the number 5, number 100 issue, but going into our next arc, we've got some tie-ins that it's not quite a crossover, but it ties into what's going on in King in Black. And it's some stuff that I've been joking that issue 7 is the one that's going to have every reader calling for my blood. And that just delights me. Because I'm fairly evil when it comes to that. The Karla cackle is getting pretty well known now for whenever I'm getting ready to rip everyone's hearts out. And issue 7 is going to have some really big emotional upsets, but also remember how much I love punching dragons and dinosaurs. So it is this huge blockbuster issue that leads us into some really cool stuff with Jess and my personal fave, Octavia Vermis. So that one is going to be a barn buster.
All right, so we'll go over to Lauren.
It's hard to pick considering this is a brand new story, so there's not really anyone launched. I think the interaction that the author Justin writes between Miles and his roommate Gonki is just hilarious and fun and sweet and gets to the heart of both characters, and you get to see Gonki in a whole new way that I really enjoy. I really hope I'm also saying his name correctly because I realize I primarily say it in my head. But those pages where they're just trying to figure out the mystery together, and then there's also going to be a new character introduced that I'm really excited for, who helps them solve that mystery. The way that those pages unfold, I think, is just really fun.
All right, Sarah.
Yeah, I am super pumped to introduce a new villain in Captain Marvel. You don't get to meet him in the first issue, but he's coming up. When we were doing the character designs and stuff for him, our basic, like my mandate to Lee Garbett was like thirsty as possible. So get ready for that.
Yes.
And for Black Widow, I'm really excited to set up some new stuff for Yelena Belova, as well as Natasha coming out of this arc.
I had to take a sip just when you said thirsty. Sorry. And last but certainly not least, Leah.
I just wrote a haunted house issue of X Factor, and it's in arc 2, which is where we're really diving into the mystery of how Prodigy died and why he's repowered now, because it's been kept a secret up till now. So there's a haunted house issue of X Factor now that I'm obsessed with. It's so fun and ridiculous.
Well, I'm excited to read all of those things.
Right?
Yeah.
My whole fall is now done. Thank you so much to everyone for all of your work. I'll toss it to you, Ellie, to close it out.
Well, we are delighted to have gotten to have this time to chat with you ladies today and hear about all of these super exciting projects. So I think from there, I will say we look forward to meeting with you again.
Yeah.
Thank you all.
Thank you so much.
Having us.